Alright, so we have a new Tulsa King episode after nearly 2 years, and the plot for this episode is pretty much this. Dwight and his crew navigate the legal intricacies as they ready their casino and weed dispensary for launch, only to face a surprise visit from law enforcement. And before I start this review and recap, if I mess up some things, it's because it's 5 in the morning where I live. And I completely forgot that Tulsa King was coming out. Alright, let's get into some of the things that happened in this episode, and the first thing is that Dwight is in jail, and he's with a bunch of prisoners. One of their names is Harley, and he's getting sent to jail for basically 5 years to 8 years for gambling away $12.5 million, which I don't know how you do that. And Dwight seems to really connect with Harley simply because we end up finding out that Dwight actually has a very personal interest in what Harley's doing. But the other men in this prison or cell or whatever really don't have much going on. They just get beat up by this really big, tough guy. But knowing Dwight, he is not scared of this guy at all. And in fact, before he beats the crap out of him, he actually tells Harley some of the intricacies that he should know before he gets into jail or prison. And then once he's done spitting that jargon to Harley, he actually ends up punching the man in the face and he goes out cold. Then we get a cut to the group of like Mitch, the girl, the one with like the weird haircut, and the other gangsters of the group and how they feel about Dwight going to jail, especially after how successful he was about to become with his new business that he was going to do. And Mitch actually ends up taking over, and someone else who I'm forgetting the name of. Remember, guys, it's like 5 in the morning, so I'll remember it for next week. But that person ends up becoming the new head honcho simply because Dwight is out. Then we go to Dwight, and basically he's in court. And the bail money that he needs to get out of his situation is $3 million, which I'm sure the guy has, but I don't know if he wants to use. But his daughter actually ends up helping him out. But I'm forgetting, I think she's paying like 10% of it or something like that to help him out. And once that scene is basically done, you can tell that she's definitely still mad at him, but she loves her dad too much. Also, I'm a little bit mad that Dwight's kind of got out of prison or jail a little bit too quickly. It would have been nice to see like 1 or 2 episodes of him being in prison, but we have other things to do in the show. And as Dwight is leaving, obviously we see Tyson again. And one of the reporters, I'm forgetting what exactly he said, but he said something that definitely stuck with Dwight about his business, or just something personal to him. Stallone's character always struck me as a guy who's very cool under pressure and can handle pretty much anything, but whatever that guy said to him pretty much really struck a chord with him. And also, this is a little bit spoilers for ahead, but basically like when Dwight meets Stacy again, we actually get to see more of the like unpeeling of the actual character and facade of Dwight. Also, we get back to Chick and Charles, and basically he's very insecure about what the people around him have been saying about his leadership and just how the death of his father was handled and who actually killed him. And obviously Charles is someone that's very insecure and will do anything to prove how tough and masculine and how much of an alpha male he is. And no one's obviously going to want to question the guy, because if they do, they're going to be 6 feet under. So Charles ends up figuring out how he can do that. Then we get a cut to a scene of Dwight and Tyson driving in a vehicle. And as they're talking about life, they end up figuring out that a police or TFA agent is following them. And Tyson basically reverses that car and just drives off. But it's not the last time that they'll see them. Also, in that conversation, we actually end up finding out that Tyson's dad's turning 60, and that Tyson and his dad seem to have a good relationship again, at least better than last season. Then we get a cut of the group talking about Dwight getting free, and everyone seems a little bit uneasy about it, but the person who's the most uneasy about it is definitely Armand, who out of everyone in the whole show has definitely got the worst of Dwight. So obviously when he returns again, Armand is not a happy man, because this man has lost all of his money, he's lost his wife, his kids, everything. And when Dwight comes back, he gets introduced to some new people. And one person is Bigfoot, who's basically exactly what you think he is. He is a massive person who could probably beat up every single person in that room, and also apparently knows a lot about psychology. But after all that happens, Dwight basically pitches the entire idea that he got from the Harley guy in the beginning of the episode, and everyone seems to be pretty happy about it. Then we get a cut to a scene of Margaret and her ranch, and actually Stallone's daughter actually ends up appearing in this episode. So that was pretty cool. And we do get a sweet moment between Dwight and Margaret, and then talking about what he's been through over the past couple of weeks and months. But obviously Dwight wants to get into the weed business, and he knows that Margaret has a way into it. And in fact, she knows somebody within the business that could help him. Then we get cut to another scene of Dwight and Tyson in a vehicle again. And the ATF, FBI agents, whatever, basically warn him to stay away from Stacy. And guess what he does after hearing that information? He goes right to Stacy. And we get another heartfelt moment of him basically telling Stacy how much he meant to her, or I mean how much she meant to him, and just like not be his regular self around her, and how much he valued that. And I really hope we get to see more of that side of Dwight this season instead of just a typical mobster. But yeah, it's still cool to see him be that mobster every once in a while. Also, after that scene happens, Tyson basically tells Dwight how crazy he is. And Dwight tries to play it off like it's normal, but it's not. And I also just thought that scene was really funny and well acted. Also, I found it pretty funny about how Tyson basically gives us a summary of all the crazy things Dwight did up to that moment. And he actually thinks that Dwight killed Stacy, which obviously us, the audience, knows that he would probably never do that. Because if snitching didn't do that, then I don't know what will. Then we get another cutscene of them opening up their new pharmaceutical company or whatever. Or just the office of what that will look like. And Tyson gives us a little quick scene of him saying he wants to be a rapper. And how all the greats started off in the way that he did. And Dwight gives the idea of pre-energy that he learned from the Harley guy. And some of the pharmaceutical weed stuff that he was talking about as well. And once again, the rest of the crew that didn't hear it the first time definitely like it now. Especially Bodhi. And they actually end up getting a meeting from Margaret, which I forgot to mention. But before they go to that place, everyone else aside from Dwight and Tyson, actually just Dwight, have to suit up. And have to get good suits for the event. And once we get that whole montage of them like trying on suits, which I thought was pretty fun, we end up actually going to the actual event. I thought it was originally a meeting, but it seems like a get-together kind of like party. But someone shows up completely drunk. And the fact that Armand was drunk before actual alcohol was given out at the party was kind of crazy. And obviously no one liked it because it gives them a bad look, and especially Dwight. But before they go into the party, obviously he tells them to try and get in good cahoots with this man. But honestly, that all meant nothing because Armand gets thrown out pretty quickly and obviously Bigfoot has to take him out. Or at least attempts to. And like I said before, Armand is not living a good life right now. He's about to sell his house. His wife and kids basically ran away from him. But things also aren't going well for Dwight because the man that he's trying to like sell this business to potentially sees right through him and even threatens him. And knowing Dwight, he's not just gonna back off, and he ends up threatening him as well. And before he leaves, he runs into Margaret and doesn't tell her exactly what happens, but just says that he has to go. And while all of this is happening, Freddy ends up getting a phone call from Charles, and it's him killing Jerry so that he can prove his point once again that he's like a good leader and someone who is not to be messed with. Then the final scene of this episode is basically the weed pharmaceutical guy calling, I don't know the guy's exact name, but he was in like Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Civil War. And I'm pretty sure he's connected to Stallone's character in some way. And he tells him basically that Dwight is basically running Tulsa and how much of a threat he is to him. So I'm sure that we're going to see more of this new character as well. And obviously the pharmaceutical weed businessman as well. So overall, Tulsa King Season 2 Episode 1 was pretty solid. It shows us a new side of Dwight, while also showing us what is at stake for this new season and what potentially will go down. So yeah, I can't wait for next week.